So I decided to take my time with this video. I wanted to sit back and try to fully comprehend and understand what it was we've just been shown at WWDC a few days ago. It would have been all too easy for me to get on and just giving you the highlights, but you deserve better than that. This channel is about being different. We like to have a grown-up, thoughtful discussion, and hopefully that's what's going to happen in this video. I'm not going to fill this video full of B-roll from the event either. I'm guessing if you've clicked on this video, you watched the event, I've watched the event, so we know what I'm talking about. I don't want any distractions. I want this next few minutes to be basically like me sitting at a coffee shop with you, chatting over WWDC. The most important thing that I want to achieve with this video is opening up the floor for you to have a discussion with me afterwards. As I say, I want this to very much be a chat about the state of Apple and WWDC 25 and what you made of it. These are just my thoughts. It's most important, really, that I get to know what your thoughts are. I'm David, and this is D Talking Tech about WWDC 25. So last year was quite a mess, as I think we all know. The pressure was on this year. Apple had to get it right. I would not like to have been amongst a team that had to try and script this and record it and get the tone of the event just right. But you know what? I think they kind of did it. They over-delivered on my expectations. And I think the tone of the event was just about as good as it could have been. There was no, or very few, to put it this way, Apple Intelligence wasn't rammed down our throats. But it was clearly there as a theme, as a thread through everything that was going on. And we wondered if there'd be an apology. Now, something that I found interesting, and you may have noted, was that they kept Tim Cook's input into the event minimal, literally top and tail. There was nothing of him, and there was no great call to action speech from him either. It was very, very little Tim Cook in the whole event. But Craig, towards the end, mentioned Siri and said, look, I'm sorry, it's not ready yet. You deserve better. We're going to wait till we get it right and ship it then. And I think that's the right approach to go. It was as near as we were going to see to Apple and humility. And things have clearly moved on. I'm not going to feature too heavily on Apple Intelligence per se, but it needs mentioning. Now, visual intelligence last year really didn't do much. I've used it a few times in London, and it sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. But if they're now telling us that you can take a screenshot and go online and reference whatever it is you're looking at, if that's how far Apple Intelligence has come on, and yes, I know it's been done elsewhere before, that's not the point I'm trying to make here. It's that Apple have actually listened and have been busy and have begun to make up for lost ground. And I think that's really, really important. Now, I'm guessing they're not going to make the same mistakes as last year. And by that, I mean, I'm taking it as read that the features that we saw at WWDC actually exist. As you know, part of or a very large part of the problem last year was that Apple basically lied to us. And a lot of the features they were talking about had never been run on any device, maybe outside of some lab at Cupertino. I'm guessing this year, WWDC is still going on as I sit recording this, that the guys that are there are able to get their hands on devices and actually use the features that we saw this year. So if I had to sum up WWDC in one word, I'd say cohesive or grown up. They've gone about things in a very measured way, and they brought everything together. I think this was a year that Apple just needed a draw breath. We'd heard the phrase that it might be a stop year. They've kind of just drawn breath a little bit, drawn a line in the sand and said, right, we've got into a mess. Let's try to get things right. And I like the way they've gone about it. Now, make no mistake about it. This isn't just a reskinning of OS. This is a redesign of OS. I know, again, the haters will say, oh, we've always heard it's going to be a massive redesign. This is a redesign. And whenever you redesign something, and I've got a design background, whenever you redesign something, you have to swing hard and hit high. And by that, I mean, you're going to go too far. The first iteration of any redesign, the same was on my website recently. We went really extreme, and then we tailored it back to what we felt was right. And it's going to be the same with the various OS that we saw, particularly our iOS, which I'll mention in a moment in more detail. But what we saw on Monday, I don't think is going to be what ships come September. It's going to just be brought back into realms of more practical. It was what I saw of it on screen, and I haven't got the I don't get the developer betas because they are so buggy. I don't see the point of doing that. they're so glitched they don't really work. They're for developers of apps and not for me. I'll be getting the public beta next month. But I liked the basic overall look of it, but I do think that what we saw on Monday isn't what we're going to be getting. It won't be as extreme as that when we finally get our hands on iOS 26 in September. As you'll now know, we didn't get any new hardware at WWDC, so now is the perfect time to make sure you're keeping your Macs tidy and safe, and that's where CleanMyMac comes in. I've been using CleanMyMac on all of my Macs for years now, and about 18 months ago, it really saved the day for me. Someone pretending to be a sponsor sent something containing malware, and it was only because I had CleanMyMac installed that I could run it and quickly find a potential threat and get rid of it off the system. I hate to think of the damage that malware could have done to my Mac and this channel. Trust me, lessons have now been learned. But CleanMyMac never stands still, and the latest version of it represents the evolution from a cleaning-centric to a care-centric Mac app. This new version looks amazing and is even simpler to use. The easiest and quickest way to check your Mac system-wide is to simply run SmartCare. That'll check for junk, the performance of your Mac, check for any potential threats, declutter your Mac, and check if any apps need updating. It'll even look for app installation files that can be removed, app leftovers, and highlight unused apps as well in case you want to delete them. Of course, if you have a particular worry or concern, you can always choose to go directly to Cleanup, Protection, or Performance and just run those particular checks. CleanMyMac will eliminate any duplicates in your downloads and remove system cache, development junk, and unnecessary files that can easily take up valuable space and prevent essential updates. Too much clutter slows my creative workflow down, but by regularly running CleanMyMac, it tidies up and clears the way for my ideas. Simply put, working tidily helps me to get stuff done. If you haven't installed CleanMyMac yet, why not? Do yourself and your Mac a favor and get tidy today. Try it for free for 7 days and use my code LewisTech to get a 20% discount. Get tidy and safe. Run CleanMyMac on your Mac right now. At WWDC, the focus is always on iOS. But I think that's a mistake this year, simply because, again, it's this cohesive word. It's part of a much bigger jigsaw puzzle. It's just one little link in the chain. Now, iOS is no more important than iPadOS, macOS, visionOS, watchOS. They all look the same. They all feel the same. And I like what they've done with the idea of this stop year of now calling everything by the year, the OS by the year. I think that's really good sense, which makes me just wonder, just going off topics very slightly, when iPhone turns 20 in a few years' time, do you think much like with iPhone 10, we never had the 10, it jumped to X, do you think maybe then they'll call it iPhone 28 running iOS 28? I don't know if that's me being too extreme or not, but it was just something I wanted to chat over with you. Now, haters are always going to hate. No matter what Apple does, you'll get the people on the other side of the fence, on the Android side of the fence. As you know, I'm not somebody that argues about Android or Apple. Both are great systems. Both are good to use. It's just what suits you best. But what does annoy me is when people on the Android say, well, we've had that for years. Good. I'm glad you've had these features for years. We haven't. For whatever reason, some of these features are now coming to Apple for the first time. But don't forget, plenty of Android features have copied Apple over the years. And the smartphone market, the touchscreen market, wouldn't be where it is if it hadn't been for Apple in the first place. So let's begin to look specifically at some of the features that we got this year. And just take this in as I read them out to you. Call screening, hold assist, live translation, lyric translation in Apple Music, beat matching in Apple Music. All of those are huge. If we'd had just a couple of those in any other year, that would have been a good year. But we've got all of those in 1 year. Now, it comes to the Messages app, and I've heard plenty of hate on this as well. Oh, they're just copying WhatsApp. So in Europe and here in the UK, WhatsApp is really big. And the majority of group chats that I'm involved with are on WhatsApp, not on iMessage. But in the States, correct me if I'm wrong, I understand that WhatsApp isn't particularly big, and iMessage is the biggest messaging platform, and that most of the group chats happen on there. So they've taken some of the best features from WhatsApp. So what? We've got wallpapers in and out. That can't be a bad thing. Learning from the best can never be bad. We've got Apple Cache. We've got polls, typing indicators. If you're in a group and you use group messages on iMessage a lot, surely these features, again, are noteworthy and good. And it comes back to that point. If they hadn't have included them, what would people be saying then? Oh, it's still not as good as WhatsApp. So they've learned from the best and they've tried to improve on what they've got. And it's the details of some of the UI that I've seen that I really like. For instance, the floating menu bar at the bottom, the radius is exactly the same radius as that of your phone or your iPad. And it's little attentions to detail like that. It's a very minimal look this year. They push all the icons off to one side. They sweep away when you're not using them. If you look at the camera app, they've cleaned that up now. So we just got the basic two that most people want to use, camera and video on view. If you want to go into the menus after that, they've simplified that, but they're not on view the whole time. And they've clearly listened as well with the Photos app. They've gone back to giving you a more old-style Photos app, which I think that's another theme of this year, that Apple quietly in the background, and this is why I wanted to take my time with this video, Apple clearly had been listening. Good design, to my way of thinking, is something that you use but don't notice. And although when we get our hands on this in September, clearly we're going to notice it, I've got a feeling that it will very quickly begin to be part of our everyday carry. It's something we'll get used to, and it looks good. And what's wrong with something looking good? Let's say you don't buy a new device every year, and most people wouldn't. When you get a new OS on your phone, I remember years ago, before I was involved doing this, when that new OS lands, it makes your device feel young, new, and fresh again. Something fun. We all need something fun. Okay, so there's been some people joking about the new clocks on the lock screen that, you know, fade behind whatever image you've got. It looks good. That's good design. And if that just makes your device feel personal, looks fresh, feels different, I'm all for it. This is a very different video to the normal videos that I make, which is normally on, obviously, Apple gear and full of B-roll of whatever device I'm talking about. But this time, I just wanted to sit down and have a chat with you. I wanted to be in your living room, in your car, out with you on your run, just talking to you about WWDC. And don't forget, the idea is that you get involved at the end of this and let me know your thoughts as well. If you're enjoying it, though, and my weekly videos about everything Apple, don't forget that sub really does help me out. And something major that has happened to the channel over the last week is we now have our own Discord server. So if you want to carry on this conversation on our D-Talking Tech Discord server, I will leave the details in the description, and it would be lovely for you to see you there and to join in. And don't forget, it's free. And also, I send out a members newsletter, a free video newsletter every Sunday. All you need to do is leave me your details on my website, and there's details for that in the description as well. It wasn't only all the big headline features and apps that got attention this year as well. They've gone granular, they've gone deep. The Wallet app, for instance, I only really use it for Apple Pay. We haven't got driver's license here in the UK yet, but more driver's licenses have been added to it. And digital ID. Digital ID is a great idea. Apple Wallet, again, is something that Apple were ahead of the trend with. They brought that to be normal. Apple Pay, I can't remember the last time I took cash out. I rely on Apple Pay for everything. The watchOS got some decent and not so decent features. Smart Stack, I can see myself using that. I think that's quite a nice little addition to Watch. I one day hope to get myself a Watch Ultra, but I use my Apple Watch every day, all day. So I think Smart Stack would be useful, but Workout Buddy, what I saw of it really wasn't for me. Something else, again, they've left no stone unturned this year. CarPlay never gets mentioned, but what with CarPlay Ultra coming out a few weeks ago, it's kind of almost the talk of the town at the moment. Now, I use CarPlay all of the time, and in fact, recently I've leaned into it even more. I realised I was touching and using my phone a bit too much in the car, so I've really leaned into personalising how CarPlay looks as much as I can at the moment. But the features we've got coming to CarPlay are fantastic. We've got tapbacks coming, which again is really, if you put up a set of traffic lights and you just want to give a quick tap back to a message, you can do that now. Widgets, that's going to make it so much more personal, so that my CarPlay looks more like mine than anybody else's. And also, there's that minimal cool icon now. Before, if you're following a map, the whole screen used to go white and you get somebody's name and display picture come up, which is really annoying. Now, everything comes down to this minimal design again. You just get the minimal cool bar at the bottom of the Apple CarPlay screen. And I think that looks really, really good. visionOS, I spoke about this on my podcast last week, minus 16, saying that I understood we were getting a wand. Well, the wand did happen. It was called the Logitech Muse. One thing that did surprise me, they're talking about being able to create and edit spatial video for Vision OS or for Apple Vision. But oddly, they've partnered with Adobe and Premiere Pro. I can't quite get my head around why they're going outside of their own ecosystem. Why not use Final Cut? There may be a reason that I don't know. That just surprised me. I haven't got Vision OS yet, or Vision Pro yet, Apple Vision, sorry, yet, but it's something maybe down the line. I'm a fan of it. I just haven't got a need for it or the £3,500 to go and spend on it at the moment. But I'm glad to see at least, again, it's being iterated and improved. Apple TV, I watch virtually all of my TV content through Apple TV, and a lot of it is Apple TV originals. It's fantastic. It's awesome. I don't see they can do much with the OS on there to make it that much different. It's more about the content. But if the homepage looks more like my iPad, my iPhone, my Mac, then I'm going to be a happy boy. One thing I wanted to discuss with you was this phone app coming to all platforms. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of that. I'm really not sure. Like you, I'm guessing I have my phone switched off most of the time, silent. I'm not sure if I want my phone ringing. Now, if I get the phone here in the studio and forget to turn the volume down on the iPad mini will ring, the iMac will ring. It can be really annoying. So I'm not sure if I'm necessarily a fan of the phone app coming to everything. Some of the features that they've put onto the phone, I quite like the idea of, such as call screening. I think that's a really good idea. And the hold assist as well, another great feature. Both useful features that I can see myself using. But as for the phone app itself, coming to every platform, not so sure if I'm a fan. So talking about Mac OS now, out of the various OS this year, it probably didn't have as bigger of an overhaul as the others. But what they've done, I like. The transparent menu bar, I think, looks fantastic. And the control center, it just opens up more screen real estate. And that's always got to be a good thing. I like what they've done with folders, the fact that you can put little symbols on there for quick recognition and recolor them as well. But Spotlight, this was almost there was two big heroes right toward the end of WWDC, if you ask me. And Spotlight was one of them. I've been a big Spotlight user for a very long time now, and I think a lot of people underuse it. It's kind of just hidden away there in the menu bar, but it's so powerful, and it's set to get more powerful with intelligent actions and keyboard shortcuts. And that is where Apple Intelligence is coming into play. If Spotlight can work as well as they were showing it in WWDC, boy, that is a game changer. Suddenly, you're going to virtually be able to run your entire Mac just through Spotlight. You won't have to go to Recents, you won't have to go to Applications, you won't even have to use your dock so much. Everything pretty much will be able to be done from Spotlight. I really, really like the look of that, and I want to see if it's a bigger game changer as I think it's going to be. So that was one of the big headlines as far as I'm concerned. Apple Intelligence involved with Spotlight was massive. And the other one was iPad. Yes, the iPad Pro. You know I'm a fan. I've been using one for a year. It was at WWDC last year that they announced the M4 iPad Pro that I've got here, and I've been using it daily ever since. I made a video recently where, and I'll leave it on the screen for you to watch at the end, where I was saying that the big change I'd like to see in iPad were a better files and folder system and also more screens on multitasking. Tick and tick. We got both of them. And we got a menu bar. And yet still people are saying, oh, well, that's not good enough. It's been done before. It looks like Windows Vista. What else do you want to do with multiple windows on an iPad? They've given us everything. Not only all the features that I mentioned with iOS at the beginning of this video, they've given it all of this on iPad as well. This year was a massive year. So now we've got up to 8 to 10 windows that we can use at any one time. You can resize them, you can tile them how you want. We've got the mouse pointer as well. That's one thing I've never liked, that little round dot that you get on an iPad. Certainly when you're using the trackpad now with the keyboard and you've got a proper mouse there, I love that idea. You've got the Files app that's been, well, it's much more like Mac now. More than ever, iPadOS and macOS are similar. They're not the same. I still think you want this to be an iPad, but they're similar. And that's what we thought was coming, or we'd heard was coming our way before the event. The fact that you can, again, recolor the folders, put symbols on the folders, and you can now put folders into your dock as well. You can fan them open, and then when you've got a file in there, even better than that, you can now choose, as you can on a Mac, what apps you want to open that particular kind of file. So if you've got a JPEG, you can choose to open it in Lightroom or in Photoshop or in Photos, but you can choose the app you want to open it with. We've also got that menu bar that I mentioned, which I think looks fantastic, and preview. That has been a long time coming to iPad, and suddenly the iPad feels like it's come of age. If everything works as they were showing it, this is going to make the iPad almost complete, and more people will now start ditching using Mac and turn to iPad. And I'll tell you who some of those people might number is creators, people like me that do podcasts. If you haven't seen my podcast, it's called Minus 16. It's on YouTube and everywhere. But now I could be out on location in a hotel. They've given us audio input choices now. So I could put a really good mic into here and choose my audio input. They've given us background noise removal tools on here. And in famous Apple Sherlocking fashion, they've given us live capture. Another massive thing has come to iPad. That means that I can sit anywhere and record my video and audio locally. and my guests can record their video and audio locally. It's virtually the same as RiversideFM. My podcast is recorded in RiversideFM. I'm a massive fan of that platform. Now, this isn't as advanced as that yet. There's loads that goes on behind the scene in RiversideFM that I really like and lean into using heavily. But this is just a start. So if you can now do live capture on your iPad and pretty much capture content anywhere and upload video and podcast anywhere, this thing is becoming more and more powerful. And also, one of the things that I didn't like about running Final Cut on the iPad was when you were exporting, you couldn't use any other apps. But now you've got background tasks as well. So that's my take. That's my take on WWDC 25. I think they pretty much nailed it. I don't think they could have done an awful lot more. It's a big list. When you look through what they've achieved this year, it's a big list. Now, the only caveat is that everything has to work, and I'm just praying that they've learned from last year and that everything works as they showed it. And if it does, I think we're in for a bumper year of being Mac users, iPhone users, and in particular, iPad users. And all those features I just mentioned on iPad, don't forget, of course, all iPads, iPad Air, iPad Mini, iPad Pro. The iPad has come of age, and that makes me so happy. But look, as I said at the beginning, this was very much just an introduction to get the ball rolling. I wanted this video is either going to do or die. It's going to go down well, and people are going to understand what's going on in it, or click off of it. There's no B-roll. It is just me and you sitting, having a chat. Let me know what you think or what you thought about WWDC. Did they deliver? Is there anything else you would have liked to have seen? And are you looking forward to the beta and public releases coming our way in next month, and then for the full release, of course, in September? I mentioned that video a moment ago that I spoke about better file management and the way I wanted iPad to improve. That's the video that's on screen for you to watch now. This has been a bit different. I hope you enjoyed it. Fingers crossed. I'll be back with more videos next week.